Happy Tuesday, my Patreons. How are you? Happy New Year. We are now in it, so, let's keep the momentum going. I'm really sorry if you can hear the little space heater going on behind me, but who doesn't want to freeze to death doing this? Me. I don't want to freeze to death. Thank you. God bless. There's just that little hum going on. Please pay it no attention. It's freaking cold in this room. I've got all these old ass drafty windows and no heat in here, so sometimes we got to do the what's that thing called, space heater. Yes. So I was going to do this earlier, but I got stuck reading this article about orphans in Romania after Ceausescu's reign, people who were institutionalized and were given no it's not that they were deprived of human contact, but they were deprived of being able to attach to another human, and how many of them are kind of traumatized and scarred from it. It was a really interesting read. Of course, I lost it, and now I can't provide you with a link. I'm really sorry, but it's kind of like... So, first post of the new year, and we're out of the holidays, but over the holidays, you were seeing a lot of memes and jokes about your crazy racist uncle and stuff, and it got me thinking about those weird, strange relatives that aren't exactly, direct relatives, but they're a little more on the periphery. Now, when I was growing up, I was around a lot of relatives. I make the joke all the time, except it's true, that if you're fourth generation West Virginian, you're related to everybody in your town, which was kind of true for me. I was related by blood or marriage to pretty much everybody, which made dating kind of weird. I did accidentally once date a cousin, like a distant cousin. He was like third cousin, and I didn't know it until my dad called me laughing hysterically. Luckily, it was in middle school, and the only thing that we did was exchange notes, being like, what are you doing today? Oh, will you call me tonight? It wasn't anything bad. What is kind of disturbing, though, is he knew we were related. I didn't, and he did. My husband, his family, although we grew up very close to each other, we were friends in high school and everything, his family is not from West Virginia, so with my kids, the gene pool is clean. Thank goodness. But I can't talk about the crazy racist uncle, the crazy racist aunt, because that's not noteworthy in my family, you guys. That's actually normal. These people, I grew up around a lot of family. I no longer have them in my life for a lot of different reasons. Actually, most of them don't have anything to do with their garbage points of view. I'm sorry to say, but they're out of my life anyway. One relative that I do want to talk about, though, the noteworthy relative, is my Aunt Barbara. My Aunt Barbara is my great aunt, meaning she was my grandmother's sister. I actually think Aunt Barbara's still alive. I'm not 100% on that, but I think Aunt Barbara's still kicking. I come from good, sturdy, robust stock. My family tends to hang on forever, getting more dilapidated and hunched over and making less sense as time goes on, definitely being a burden on their younger family members, or we die of self-inflicted things. Lung cancer, outright suicide, cirrhosis of the liver. That's my family. I'm making a joke about it, but it's also true. I can do it, you can't. I'm kidding. But my Aunt Barbara, even among all the weirdos, was a strange one. And to a little kid, she was fascinating. And then to, a teenager and a 20-something, not so fascinating. And now to a late 30s woman, fascinating again. So my Aunt Barbara, I haven't seen her in a very, very long time because she was not, as a human being, a great person. She had a tendency, she had sticky fingers, she had a tendency to steal. And when my grandmother died, she snuck in and made off with some stuff that she had no right to do that with. So the family kind of collectively disowned her. Some went back because she was important to my aunts and uncles. She came in and helped a lot of them when they were growing up in a very, very bad household when they were children. But my Aunt Barbara, when you think of the eccentric old aunt, maybe when I think of it, and I'm not thinking of Aunt Barbara, I always think of, have you ever seen the movie The Money Pit? If you haven't, I'll explain it. But the woman who sells them the house, that's my eccentric old aunt stereotype in my head. So I'm thinking feather boa. I'm thinking always got a cocktail in one hand. Always got tall tales to tell. Just a very well-lived but strange person. My Aunt Barbara was a little different. So let's talk about her house first. My Aunt Barbara's house was fascinating. Now, when I was little, we would go do Christmas Eve at my Aunt Barbara's house. My mom came from a family of 8 kids, and then those 8 kids had spouses and kids of their own. So Christmas Eve celebrations for my mom's just direct family tended to be kind of big, and we would all do it at Aunt Barbara's house. Now, my Aunt Barbara's house was a trailer, and if you are unfamiliar with trailers, I have to take a minute to explain. So trailers can be either dumpy or they can be really nice. The way I grew up and the houses I grew up in, a trailer was an upgrade. Trailers can be really nice, you guys. They can have 2 bathrooms. I grew up in a house with 1 bathroom. Do you know what a luxury a second bathroom is? So my Aunt Barbara, her house was a trailer kind of attached to a house. It was a smallish to medium-sized house. It was really weird. So, okay, when you would walk into her front door, you would walk into the trailer part, not the house part. So if you've never been in a trailer, they have the front door is usually either directly in there. Every trailer comes with 2 doors. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Every trailer comes with 2 doors. Depending on how you set it, your front door is either directly into the living room, or it is the door that comes in on the hallway. They're all kind of standard. They're all kind of built the same way. You know where you're going, even the ones with multiple bedrooms and stuff. So my husband and I, when we were still dating, our first place together was a trailer, and our front door went directly into a living room. My Aunt Barbara's front door to her house was directly into the hallway part. And because this is a trailer, the hallway's very narrow. I mean, even as a little kid, I could walk down with my arms out like this and touch the walls. So you walk in, and she always kept her house so dark. This hallway was always dark, like black dark. And she had one of those plastic carpet runners, so you wouldn't mess up her carpet. But I'm going to tell you some other stuff that I don't see how it mattered. So there was a bedroom directly off to your left when you walked in, and that was where you would throw your coats. I don't know of a time ever when anybody slept in that bedroom, but it was a fully outfitted bedroom. It had the furniture, it had the bed, and then there would be the bathroom. And this was not the only bathroom in the house, but it was the main bathroom. When as company, you would use this bathroom. Now, this bathroom was carpeted with thick plush carpet, and she had again, I don't know how old you fellas are, but it used to be a thing to put like this carpeted material all over your toilet to make it match. So not only that little fitted rug that you would put around the toilet, the lid would have this carpet on it, and then the tank would have this carpet on it, and it was supposed to, I guess, make everything look better. Except I don't think my uncles were house trained, because they pissed all over everything in there, and it smelled like it. That bathroom stank to high heaven, and as soon as you walked in, that was what you smelled, was that pee-soaked bathroom. So let's keep going. Let's go on a journey. So we've passed the bathroom. There was a second smaller bedroom where you could also throw your coats when you came in, but it had this really weird light fixture, one that my aunt put in herself. This did not come with the trailer. It was it's probably worth a fuck ton of money. Like, if you sold this thing on Etsy, you'd make a dime. It was a guy in a sports car riding past the moon, if that makes any sense. It was a it was a globe light, and the globe light is the moon, but there was also another part of a guy in a red sports car flying past it. It was the weirdest, but neat. It was so 1950s, 1960s, very retro, very cool. I used to love looking at this. On we go. So we're still in the trailer part. So on we go, and then we're in the living room. Now my Aunt Barbara was not, she is not, we'll just assume she's still alive, not a subtle woman. This is not a person you would ever find anything the color of beige in her house. So, where the front door would have been, they installed big glass doors, like the French kind, the kind you open up like this, not the sliding kind. And she put black velvet curtains over them and would tie them back with these gold, are they called theater masks, where one's smiling and one's sad, and they're very gaudy. And she would tie them back with that, or cherubs. There's lots of the black velvet curtains all over our house, and they're either tied back with the theater masks or golden cherubs all over the place. And there would be the TV, and she was one of the first people in our family to get a VCR, so it was always a big deal going over there because you could watch tapes on the VCR. And she had a great big one of those octagonal fish tanks where it was tall, and it was maybe about that thick, and she always had an immaculate fish tank. That thing was kept clean. It was beautiful. She always had neat fish in there. She had the little frogman with the treasure chest that would pop open and spit out bubbles. And she had old black Naga hide furniture that then also had plastic covers on it. Now in the summertime, her furniture was not fun. You would stick to it, it hurt, not fun. So we're still in the living room, and her kitchen was pretty unremarkable, and beyond the kitchen was a small dining room where she had black and red furniture, like a big heavy wooden black table and chairs with high backs, like they looked kind of medieval, very in line with her aesthetic. That's all of the trailer part of the house. Now, where it's attached to the house, you're in the living room and you're looking at the kitchen, but off to your left, just through the living room, was a big wide opening, and in through there was like another living room. But this was what you would call maybe a sitting room, but there was all kinds of neat shit in there. She had a giant old jukebox in there, but it wasn't like, when you think jukebox, are you thinking of the Happy Days one where it's rounded and it's got the yellow and green and pink lights on it? No, this is one of those, I mean, it's bigger than my desk, and I've got a humongous desk, enormous ones with it had just a huge display about this big of buttons, and it had records in it, and I don't remember if it worked. I don't think it worked. She had a white baby grand piano in there. Again, with the black velvet curtains. Now, this was a room that had, that cheap wood paneling that was in everything back in the day. This had the cheap wood paneling painted black. She had a white sofa in there, and the white sofa had all these kind of weird, eclectic throw pillows on it. Some of them were shaped like hearts. There was one that was shaped out in the word love. There was a big glass coffee table with a big sculpture of a white cat. There in the corner was this gigantic, like probably 5 foot tall fountain with gnomes all over it, and she would keep it running, and she put floating flower candles in it. Very, very, very strange room. The rest of her house, if you go down the hallway, there were bedrooms, and her husband, my Uncle Jim, was a bus driver and a car mechanic. And he was a very, very kind man, very nice man, but he never wanted to have anything to do with our family gatherings. He would always stay in his bedroom and watch TV in there or sleep. So we didn't go back that way too much, except there was, and and upstairs that she kept, there was a pool table, and there were sometimes a lot of toys up there. So us little ones, if we started getting on people's nerves, hey, go up to the upstairs and go play with toys. Now to get there, you had to go to this, I don't even know what this room was, but it was all red velvet or red carpet. Again, it's been a while. The carpet was red, and there was red carpet going up the walls, and there was a window, but I don't remember anything about that. But there was a small love seat, red velvet love seat, with a boxed gigantic doll of Marilyn Monroe in the 7-year-itch white dress, the one that flies up when she gets on over the subway grate, just standing there, and a full suit of armor in this very tiny room. So all that there was room for was this suit of armor, this red love seat with the box of Marilyn Monroe, and a spiral staircase leading upstairs. This house was bananas for a kid. It was so cool. Now, let's talk about Aunt Barbara herself. She was a woman of a certain time. And by that I mean, okay, her and my grandma both were kind of low-key obsessed with Elizabeth Taylor. My grandma was always very poor. My Aunt Barbara, not that she was wealthy, but she was at least stable and comfortable enough to have a little money to play with. You know, she could go out and buy a new outfit, no problem. My grandma couldn't do that. My grandma was very impoverished. But my grandma kind of itched her Liz Taylor obsession by being an Avon lady. And she had all kinds of jewelry that was very Liz Taylor-esque, but it was Avon jewelry. It was very cheap. And my Aunt Barbara tried to be Liz Taylor. I'll show you. This was my grandma when she was a child. That actually looks like my oldest son. My oldest son looks just like her. Blonde hair, slate gray eyes, very, very light colored. She looked a lot like her father. My Aunt Barbara, there's a little bit of scandal concerning her birth and all of that, that maybe she was born on the wrong side of the quilt, meaning it's possible she has a different father. My great-grandmother kind of ran off with a guy during one point in her marriage, and we don't know. I don't know. And the people who do know are either dead or they don't talk about it. It's unseemly to talk about. But my Aunt Barbara has dark, dark hair. She has dark eyes. She looked nothing like my grandma. And as she got older, she started dyeing her hair jet black, like to the point where it would have this kind of dull blue sheen to it because the hair dye she was using was cheap as hell. But let's get back to the Liz Taylor thing. In her day, in her prime, she was elegant. She was very much in style. But if you watch or look it up, if you care, I'm going to explain it to you anyway, it doesn't matter. As Elizabeth Taylor got older, especially coming up into the 60s, particularly the 1970s, in the 70s and up into the 80s, she started, she was still wearing her hair the same way she always had, short and very hairsprayed into a helmet. It started looking tacky. It started looking kind of gaudy, and my Aunt Barbara sort of latched onto that phase of Elizabeth Taylor. So she always wore her hair a little more down to here. So it wasn't short, it was always down to here, but it was always kind of teased out. And even in the 90s, she still wore grease makeup. And grease makeup is clown makeup, but it was also a thing that people did wear in the 60s and 70s. She wore blue and green eyeshadow, and she'd shaved off her eyebrows decades before. She hadn't had eyebrows in forever. And she wasn't doing, people take a lot of time on their eyebrows today. It was a single line. And sometimes she wasn't very careful about it, so she would draw them on unevenly. And she'd walk around like this, looking like one eyebrow's like, wee! Just because she drew them on wrong. And she was someone who definitely believed that you do not wash your mascara off. So I don't know how she was able to blink with these monstrous thick eyelashes of my Aunt Barbara. Again, as a kid, this was fascinating. And then as you start getting older, it's like, wash your face, lady. But then now that I'm older, it's like, oh, this is so funny because she was so of a different time and so stuck. Like, absolutely not. This is still the height of fashion. I still look good. You will not tell me any different. So when I was a kid, we would go over there a lot because she was one of the only people who had air conditioning, and she would cook for us. But she had these, they were just the regular black table phones, rotary table phones, but they had these silver covers on the handsets. They were really weird looking, and I've never seen anything like that before. They were so neat looking. But my Aunt Barbara would answer the phone. Now, my Aunt Barbara, she was very, of her time, but she was, she had a little bit of an accent. She talked a little bit like this. But when she would answer her phone, ring, ring, hello. Now, if she knew you, it would change immediately. Hello? Oh, hey, darling, what you doing? If she didn't know you, hello? Oh, yes, this is her speaking. I'm not even kidding. My Aunt Barbara did that. Now, when she cooked, she had one of those gigantic Gatorade dispensers, but she would fill it with iced tea. Now, this is sweet tea. West Virginia is technically, geographically, a southern state. When you get sweet tea down there, it is syrup. As a kid, I loved it. I would die if I tried to drink it now. So getting, going up there and seeing that she had the dispenser out, oh, it's got sweet tea in it. Oh, it's so good. And then she would also make this dish called buttered potatoes. Now, I actually would love to eat buttered potatoes again, even though when I tell you what they are, you're going to be like, bleh. Unless you also grew up poor, and this was the height of sophistication. This was the height of fancy food. I ate a lot of potatoes as a kid. I still eat a lot of potatoes. That's like my comfort food. Oh, which is why I have to continually keep calorie restricting because I binge, and I love French fries more than anything in the world. But buttered potatoes were potatoes that were cut up into like 1-inch cubes and boiled until soft, and then drowned in nothing but margarine. You'd be rich to buy real butter. Who was buying real butter? You were buying those big tubs of Country Crock or just store brand. It was mostly store brand. Just bathed. It was served like soup in a bowl, and you would. I just have so many memories of being a little kid and drinking sweet tea and having buttered potatoes, watching rented videotapes at my Aunt Barbara's house. It was so much fun as a kid. And I mean, I guess it's nice that I have the memories. I don't really want to mend that fence because things did go bad, and it was because of her. But that is my weird aunt. I never once heard her, say anything horrible and racist. I have a gay uncle, and even though he wasn't out, it was an open secret. We all knew. She knew. I mean, she never said anything. She was very welcoming of his partners, roommates. That wasn't a part of her, but she was very much stuck in the 70s, tacky ass Elizabeth Taylor and her weird house that was like over the top dramatic and dark. There was no natural light ever going into this house. She also you never ate off real dishes at her house. It was red Solo cups and paper plates, and she would wash the red Solo cups and reuse them because, again, from another time. But I just wanted to share that with you. Do you guys have any weird kind of peripheral family members that you look back on and go, wow? Because when you grow up with it, it's normal. I thought everybody had an Aunt Barbara. I thought everybody had that kind of weird aunt who took care of you, and she always bought us lots of Christmas presents. They were from the dollar store, but it meant something. When we would go over there on Christmas, she set up this gigantic Christmas tree in the room with the jukebox. And everybody had at least 3 presents. At least. all the aunts and uncles, all the spouses, all the kids. We went there one year, and my little brother was friends with a boy who came from a very bad home. And this kid did not want to go home over Christmas break. He wanted to stay with us. It's a long story, but when I say bad home, I mean it. And so we were like, okay, we'll take him to Aunt Barbara's. And my mom showed up, and my Aunt Barbara ran into that room and switched a couple tags and had presents for that boy to open. And his face, I was a teenager when this happened, but his face when my Aunt Barbara dropped these presents in his lap. Even the bad people do good things, you know? So, yeah, good start to 2021, I think. Am I stopped? Nope, but I'm getting ready to stop, so I gotta end this. I'm running out of memory on my phone. So,